blog, the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog. Alliance? If you put an S in front of Alliance, you have Salliance. That's
Mi gente, you already know who it is. The radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Bobby. Are you ready?
Power.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party. It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to... Wait a minute. My screen just went blank. Okay, good. Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your premier source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal. His name is DKM. We are the Alliance Guys, and each and every Thursday we come to you, that hashtag NWA fam, to talk NWA wrestling.
Jay, what was my name?
Did I call you DKM?
Yes.
Holy shit. I think I had a stroke earlier today, and that's Jaden, guys. That's Jaden, not DKM. It's Jaden.
You ever watched The Muppet Show?
When I was a kid, I'll be honest, I never really watched it as an adult. I've heard good things about it. It's just one of those things where, like, I barely have time to watch the things that I love, let alone watch the things that are just, passing interest.
Well, if you ever do, it has a whole new meaning and appreciation as an adult when you watch it than when you were as a kid. Mm-hmm. And if you know the really big Muppet named Sweetums, I just suddenly realized he reminds me of DKM.
Sweetums. Now I have to Google.
Make sure you put it up on the screen if you're going to do that.
Yeah, I will. Oh shit! Yes, I know the character you're speaking with whom you are speaking of. Let me see if I can get a good picture of him.
Doesn't he kind of just remind you of DKM?
I don't want to get DK mad at me, so
you mix Sweetums with Statler and Waldorf, and you got DKM.
Oh shit! I'm bringing them up on screen so everyone else can see. Oh, that's not the right one. Here we go.
Oh, that Windows sound.
Yeah, I hate it.
Me too.
Usually means I messed up something.
Yep. DKM. He makes that face.
He does make that face. I'm not gonna lie. I can't argue. He does make that face.
Yes.
When he gets frustrated, that's the face he makes.
So how are you today, Jay?
Today's been a blur, but it's been a good kind of blur. I got to go to the gym this morning.
Good.
I've been doing something a little bit different, and I don't remember the TikToker who I followed who suggested it, but she's kind of built like Camille. Maybe not as big as Camille, obviously, because Camille, I think, is like she could be in bodybuilding competitions, but this lady is very jacked. And she was mentioning, like, when you're doing your exercises, she always says it like, do your reps to failure. And I'm like, what does that mean? And I kind of looked it up and kind of researched it. Basically, do it till you just can't do it anymore. Do less weight.
Yeah.
Do more of it. And I started doing that this last week, and my workouts, I feel like, have been better, and I'm feeling stronger. So it's like, all right, cool, man. I'm feeling great. So I'm excited about that.
You're looking good. I can't wait to see you on the 31st.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling good. Jeremy says, how long is my gym streak currently? Well, I got to be honest. Last week, in preparation for the 4th of July, my gym days right now are just Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's really the only time I have to dedicate to getting to the gym. last week, the wife needed my help in getting our house ready for a 4th of July party. So I had to skip the gym last week, and I was kind of bummed out, right? But then when I got there on Tuesday and I had this amazing workout, I kind of thought, well, shit, maybe I needed the rest. Maybe I needed that week off, because I really felt so good going in there on Tuesday. And then today, not as good, but still productive, So I was happy with it,
Yeah. You need the rest to recover.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not trying to fool myself. I work out 2 days a week. I work a full-time job. I have a lot of other responsibilities, but getting in there those 2 days is so good for not just my physical health, but my mental health. Gives me time to kind of be in my head, And so, yeah, I mean, I'm feeling good. My wife says I look good, and that's all that matters. The clothes are fitting better. The weight fluctuates, and I don't care about that. I just, I want to feel good. And so right now I'm feeling pretty good. And, I noticed, I'm not Jack Stain or anything, but I've got the traps coming in, the deltoids are coming in, the tries are getting pretty big. So yeah, I'm excited.
You're right about the same age to get hired by the NWA.
No, I think this is the cutoff. Like right now, I think I age out in November, so maybe I can get a gig with the United Wrestling Network. I don't know.
Speaking of NWA, I think that's why we're here.
Well, it is. We do talk NWA every Tuesday and Thursday. Sometimes we spend more on the conversation than others, but it's very interesting time to be a fan of the NWA. And in fact, I was getting flamed earlier today by some TNA aggressive fan. I gave him the old Blotsky because I was just tired of the negativity. But the NWA is in a weird, precarious position because I feel like there's a lot of positive momentum, a lot of positive pieces that are involved. The same complaint I've had for over 5 years is still pretty present, which is the booking a lot of times is inconsistent or doesn't make sense. But like we've been talking about these wrestlers who are under contract, and I mean they've announced more and more, and it's kind of interesting when you look at the contracted, I should say that differently, the talent who have inked contracts, exclusive deals, if you will. And there's some names on there that make a lot of sense, and there's some other names that it's kind of like, well, why isn't that person signed? Like, we keep hearing about those talents who are exclusive now to the NWA, but we haven't heard EC3's name linked to being exclusive. We haven't heard Kenzie Page's name being linked exclusive to the NWA. We haven't heard Tom Latimer's name as being exclusive to the NWA. We have seen Blunt Force Trauma. We have seen Max the Impaler, the King Bees, Natalia Markova, Brian Idol, one of your favorites, Spencer Slade.
Yeah.
Another guy you like is Colby Carino, up-and-comer Carson Drake, Rekka Tahaka.
Yeah, she's real popular right now. I hear everybody talk about her all the time, like video after video of Rekka Tahaka.
That's the wrong one. And then also announced earlier this week was the Slime Balls, and then I believe Eric Small signed a short-term deal with the NWA.
Am I rubbing off on you?
I hope not. If you keep that to yourself, sir.
You're picking up some of my bad habits.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, and I said this on the pre-party, and let's kind of dive into this right now. I don't know that I would sign somebody under contract in which I do not have a division for them to compete in. Eric Smalls, although as a talented individual, and I don't want to disparage him, I'm not trying to put the guy down, but
Life has already done that.
There isn't a cheater. There isn't a little person division in the NWA. There isn't a minis division, or however you want to express that.
You won't say it, will you?
No, I'm not going to say it.
Can I say it?
I mean, I don't think that's hate speech, but I know that they don't like it. So,
you mean the midget division?
Yeah.
I don't agree with you because I don't think they need one. Lord Littlebrook worked more places as not a wrestler than he did as a wrestler.
Okay.
Or at least more prolifically under like long-term deals and stuff like that. Little Beaver, Little Mr. T. Yes, I know that seems inappropriate. They all have worked places where they weren't the Hornswoggle, where there wasn't divisions for them. So I don't have a problem with them signing Eric Smalls. I just have a problem with how they use him.
Well, I mean, so the first time we saw Eric Smalls, he was punching Trevor Murdoch in the balls, right? I mean, that was the introduction to Eric Smalls, and then him and Rolando kind of got into it back at the Robart show, I think in Sarasota. It might have been one of the Florida shows, maybe not.
Yeah, it was a short scuffle.
And then we saw at the Crockett Cup, it was supposed to be Rolando and Smalls in a ladder match for the family jewels. And I don't know, man. I don't understand that idea. Like, and I get it because Billy is a showman and he likes to have diversity and he likes to have a lot of different things. But like, you know, I feel like I was kind of sold a false bill of goods when Billy told us that he grew up in Chicago and grew up with that Chicago style wrestling when he was a young man. And I don't know, man. I don't remember there being such sports entertainment in the Chicago style of wrestling in the 70s and 80s. Am I wrong? Am I crazy on that one, Jaden? Or
well, he grew up on a Bob Luce fan, and Bob Luce was different when it comes to his promotional style. And Human Dart is not insensitive. No.
Smalls has a big future ahead of him. I like that one. And then Noob wanted to point out, too, that the reason why Rekka is popular is because she's Samoan.
I don't necessarily. I know a lot of Samoans that aren't popular. It is the it thing right now, but I think it's more if you're actually part of the family. Because there's a lot of Samoan wrestlers who don't get their just desserts, in my opinion.
When I wrestled in high school, there was a family of Samoans who, oddly enough, their last name was Fatu. There was John Fatu, Fapito Fatu, Fatu, and you didn't want to mess with those guys. They're sweet. They're wonderful human beings, but man, you didn't want to see them angry. No, thank you.
As long as you're Oos, they're all right with it.
I don't think I was Oos. I think I was too insignificant to matter. They were all upperclassmen, you know, and we were on the same wrestling team, right? So like they weren't going to mess with me. Lutha says, little people and giants work best in small doses. You can't eat tacos every damn day and still enjoy them. Lou, I could eat tacos all day.
Yes. He likes those, especially those pink tacos.
You went there. I was gonna have thinly veiled. We're losing viewers. Everyone's tuning in. There's no DCAM. They're like, well, there's no point in watching tonight.
Yeah, there's nobody to yell at clouds today. Do you guys want me to be grumpy?
Wow, like they're like literally just everyone in YouTube dropped off. I'm like, wait, did we just lose connection here? Get back to me on day 63. I'll still be smiling on day 63. My boy Tito, when he was down there in Mexico with CMLL, he ate over 100 tacos in a I think 72-hour span. And to be honest, I'm quite proud of him for that.
I believe it's very doable because the problem with tacos is they're like Chinese food. You want to eat them, then you're stuffed, and then all of a sudden you're hungry again. You want to eat more of them. That's
why you got to go with the burritos. I like carne asada burritos.
Carne asada.
Noob has asked me this question a couple times, both on the pre-party and in private chats. He's asking, who do I think is going to be a lifer for the NWA? And I gotta be honest, I don't think there is such a thing as a lifer in the NWA.
They eventually will get paroled.
Well, I thought Nick Aldis was going to be a lifer for the NWA, right? I mean, when the momentum he had when he became World's Heavyweight Champion, went through the All-In and lost the title or he gained it and got back to it, I thought that guy was going to be NWA through and through. And, you know, there was a disagreement with the way that storylines were being produced and storylines were being booked. And you know, Nick Aldis took his ball and left. And, you know, I don't necessarily blame him for that either. But at the same time, I just don't think there is going to be that dynamic where someone will stay with the NWA forever. Because I feel like if you're a good talent, you'll take that 1-year contract with the NWA and you'll build up your momentum and then inquire about where you could sign elsewhere. But I don't, you know, if AEW comes calling, if the WWE comes calling, you know, how much longer can Silas Mason remain a free agent or at the very least exclusive to the NWA? You know, there's a lot of talented guys on this roster, you know, like a Spencer Slade, Dak Draper, who we haven't seen in a while, Mims. You know, a lot of these guys I think are very, very talented. And if that call comes, how long do they want to remain with the National Wrestling Alliance if there's other opportunities for them?
Think of it as an actor's term, and I hate to use that feel with professional wrestling, but you got to build your portfolio, and that's what the NWA is. It's a good portfolio, a good building block to help you get where you need to go. It does still, because of Billy Corgan, because of the NWA name, still has people watching it, paying attention to it. Sometimes they hate watch it, but that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
And that's good because now you get noticed and now you can go other places. That's happened a lot with the women wrestlers, in my opinion. It helps with a few of the men wrestlers too.
Well, like specifically with the NWA, right? When we talk about the women's division, we saw Maddie Rinkowski get signed. It's still believed, it's still rumored, it's still speculated that Camille is signed with AEW. But there was talk about the WWE being interested in her. You look at, you know, recently released or recently not re-signed. I don't know how you want to say it. Missa Kate is now a free agent. The Renegade Twins, I don't think were ever under an NWA contract, but won the tag titles, got an opportunity to go to Ring of Honor, AEW. And so you're seeing a lot of teams, a lot of the women in the NWA, when that opportunity comes, they take it. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Again, I feel like at this state in the game, and as much as Billy has invested and tried to make this NWA a bigger brand than it was when he acquired it, it's still a stepping stone. It's still a place to be until you can get somewhere better. And until Billy can offer like a 6-figure deal to somebody, I think that's just how it's going to be.
I guarantee too, it's helped other people out. Like I guarantee Reckham Balagursky's got more bookings based off the NWA. I've guaranteed Spencer Slade's gotten some more bookings based on the NWA. Heck, they've worked dog based on the NWA.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that at all, right? Like I 100% believe that. And I also want it to be clear that I'm not saying that the NWA is a place to skip over, right? No, you go and pay your dues, you work the indies, maybe you get a spot with the NWA. Maybe not, maybe it's MLW, maybe it's United Wrestling Network, something along those lines. And if you can catch on and build your fan base and get popular and get more bookings, man, that's great. That's a win-win. It helps the NWA because you're creating more exposure for them. I mean, when I've seen the posters, I've seen talent when they're announced elsewhere, the NWA logo is right there with their name, you know, and you and I spoke that Spencer Slade will be appearing for a Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator event in October. And I'm sure when the promotional materials are released for that, you're going to see an NWA logo right next to his name.
Yes, I have a feeling that that's mandatory, which is very smart of the NWA to do.
Yeah, it because it does multiple things, right? It gives the appearance that there's some sort of working relationship with the NWA and that particular promotion, right? Like, hey, this is a dog event, but there's an NWA logo on it. Or, hey, this is a Texas State wrestling show and there's the NWA logo on it. You know, it's going to kind of just by association, you know, when people think of dog and they see Spencer Slade, they see Wrecking Ball Legursky, they're going to think, hey, they have some sort of tie to the NWA, even if that's not true. And if you're a fan of the of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, and you see these guys come in, like maybe you're gonna tune into CW to see more of these guys. And then, of course, if you're a fan of those guys and you see them on your local events, local shows, you're gonna want to go to those places and take part of that. So I agree. I think that's a smart business decision from the NWA.
Yes, and it's grassroots, and people truly underestimate the grassroots. It still does. It's still useful. Dog gets a lot of its people, its fans, from posters and flyers, a lot more than anything else. You know, I know they do go and they have podcasts mention them, especially like the Alliance blog mentions a dog company all the time. Which, by the way, I have some news for you. But
we'll get to that very, very soon.
Yeah, but I like the fact that, you know, there's a lot of people mention it, but it's that grassroots for dog, for the type of crowd that it draws. That's the big deal. The flyers, the posters, you know, stuff like that. A lot more than, say, the internet does, and that's the way it should be. Honestly, I still believe while there are fans and promotions that live off the internet, the whole just putting out the word out there and putting your feet on the ground or boots to the ground and getting out and doing the legwork need to be done is important. It's actually my favorite part of the promoting, unless it's 3,000 degrees out.
So in the Inland Empire of Southern California, we have a national treasure in our own right in Jesse Hernandez. Jesse Hernandez is a former wrestler for the AWA. He was also a referee for the WWE. Whenever they would kind of come to Los Angeles, he would always be involved. Of course, he was part of the NWA Hollywood, the original one with the LaBelle family. And he's kind of responsible for like discovering a lot of some household wrestling names. The first one that comes to mind is, and of course I forgot his name, but you'll remember he wrestled in Mexico as Madonna's boyfriend, and I can't think of his name.
Louis Spicolli.
Louis Spicolli. Thank you so much. Louis Spicolli was one of his first students, but he also helped discover Frankie Kazarian. He also helped discover Rocky Romero, TJ Perkins. He did a lot of their initial training there in San Bernardino. Scorpio Sky spent some time there. You know, there's a lot of guys who have been through the school of hard knocks for Jesse Hernandez. And the reason why I bring all that up is to say, even today at his advanced age and how technology has changed, if you're in San Bernardino, if you're in the Inland Empire, it is highly probable that you will find a flyer for the Empire Wrestling Federation, because he does that grassroots. He still believes in putting a flyer on the telephone pole, going to the businesses, having those businesses display the event poster for his events in the Inland Empire. And I think that's really, really, it speaks volumes to, you know, you've said it a couple of times how flyering is very important, but you know, here's a guy who's been doing wrestling his entire adult life. That's all he's ever done. And to this day, he's still throwing flyers up. And that's how significant and meaningful that is.
There's a good chance, even though it is kind of far away, that when we go to the 7,200 arena or 2,700 arena, no, what is that arena?
2,700.
Yeah, thanks. That's my dyslexia coming through right there. We're gonna get a couple on that one stop when we get off the bridge. We're gonna put a poster up on that pole. I'm sure we'll get a couple by the building too.
That's smart. I mean, I think the dog event in
the one we're going to mention that hasn't really been talked about really yet.
That's the one that's happening in September.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's only just a few weeks away from the anniversary show, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. If you can get one person, it's worth the effort.
Luthez brings up a great point. Frankly, no one should be a lifer anywhere. Go away and learn a new hold already.
Yeah. And you know what? You know why all this is not an NWA lifer? Apparently, the NWA booking made him gags.
Oh, womp, 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 womp.
You know, real quick, we're going back with that NWA. I wanted to mention something too with that NWA logo on things. This is a disagreement I had with David Marquez. He always like, why do you put WWE superstar? If they're that name, you don't need to put that. That's not why you put it, to make them remembered, even though in some cases that's the only way they do remember them, as being a WWE superstar. It's the same thing when you go to a bar or somewhere and you have the banners about what they have, baseball games are good for this, locals baseball games, where they have the banner and then they have the Pepsi logo also on that banner.
Yeah.
You're not selling the Pepsi, like associating with the Pepsi. What you're doing is you're associating with a successful brand and hoping that rubs off on you. That's where the NWA, whether you consider a successful brand or not, the NWA rub off. That's a great thing for anybody that do so. That's a weird way to say it, but any positive influence they have can actually help the company do so. Same thing when you put the WWE superstar, you're hoping that they associate you with a successful brand. It adds an ambiance, it adds a prestige to you that you may not already have. So you're not doing it to make them remember that they work for the WWE. They're making it so they associate your company with the best of the best.
It's funny that you mentioned the WWE and rubbing off. I think that's what got Vince fired. Anyways, nothing? Not even a giggle?
Yeah, no chance with that one. No chance in hell.
Fair. All right, so getting back to the topic at hand, when Noob presented the idea of lifers in the NWA, I think what Luthez said kind of just nailed it, is like, as a wrestler, you should be interested in evolving and growing. And I think when you look at the dynamic of pro wrestling, like, how many guys were WWE lifers? How many of them never jump ship? I mean, I know Sean started out in the AWA, right? But ultimately he ended his career with the WWE. For a long time, Sting was supposed to be the WCW lifer, and then with TNA and
WWE, AEW, WWA.
Oh yeah, I mean, does that count though? WWA. I mean, that was more of like a carnival. It wasn't really like a wrestling promotion.
It was a wrestling promotion. It's just they were touring, like they did a bunch of little tours.
That's fair.
They were on pay-per-view. They were noticed. It was a preface. Honestly, it probably would have stayed around, but I think TNA took away all its momentum.
Actually, what happened was the guy that owned it, Andrew McManus, got in trouble with the Australian government. I think there was some like insider trading or something pretty serious. I don't know exactly, and I'll use the old Google machine over here and find out what happened. But
anybody with McMahon in their name, you got to worry about in wrestling. McManus, it doesn't matter.
McManus is the former owner and promoter of the short-lived World Wrestling All-Stars promotion, formed in October of 2001, with its final tour in 2003. I thought there was something else. Something else happened. I think he's in jail. I don't know. I can't find. In 2009, it was revealed at a Racing Appeals and Disciplinary Board hearing that McManus had. Oh, now I can't open it. Great. All right. Well, whatever. He did something illegal, because I think they were partnering with TNA for a while, actually. And I remember they were having events where, Sting was recognizably the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Champion, and Jeff Jarrett was recognized as the World Wrestling All-Stars Heavyweight Champion. And at some point, they unified those two titles.
Yes. And again, I think I remember what you're talking about. I think that happened after, like sometime after.
Okay.
So what you're talking about, with whatever you went through, I think a lot of like I said, a lot of that momentum was lost with the working at TNA, and they started working that more because it also took away some of the general interest in the pay-per-views, which were going down at time after time. So was the tour. You can only beat the same dead horse so often before it turns into a hamburger.
So they did an event in the United States, in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the Aladdin Hotel, which I don't believe exists anymore. And that was a weekend for me and my buddies, because we went to a UPW show, which was on a Tuesday. UPW was kind of like an unofficial minor league fed for the WWE. So we did that UPW show. And then the Friday night, we did an XPW show in Los Angeles. Then Saturday night, we were in Vegas for the World Wrestling All-Stars pay-per-view. And it was supposed to be headlined by like Macho Man Randy Savage. And he no-showed the pay-per-view, which probably means they didn't pay him what he was originally had agreed to. I think that was the same pay-per-view that I got to see Sabu take on Crowbar, which was kind of cool because at the time, Crowbar kind of his style of wrestling turned into kind of what Sabu was doing. I got to see Chronic against the Hawaiian Lion and the Navajo Warrior. Navajo Warrior becoming a friend of mine later down the road. And we also got to see Jerry Lynn, I think AJ Styles, and I want to say it might have been Juventud Guerrero. It might have been Eddie Guerrero, but it was a pretty intense cruiserweight match. And I got to go look it up because I got to know. But yeah, it was a fun show, but you know, they obviously overpromised and underdelivered on a lot of things. Sorry, I need to know now. And of course it's not there. Why would it be there? Cage match, you always fail me. There it is. Are you still there? Am I talking to myself now?
No, you're talking to the millions upon millions of people.
All right, the Revolution pay-per-view in Vegas. Oh, that's actually a pretty good card. It was Supernova defeated AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Low-Key, Shark Boy, and Tony Mamaluke in a 6-way cruiserweight survival elimination match. So that was the match. Alan Funk defeated Reno. Chronic defeated Native Blood.
I wonder if they booked Reno because they were in Nevada.
Maybe. That's kind of funny. They were using a lot of WCW guys at the time, or former WCWs, like Scott Steiner defeated Disco Inferno. I was right about Eddie Guerrero. It was Eddie Guerrero, Juventud Guerrera, and Psicosis in an international cruiserweight title triangle match. So the first match wasn't for the title. The second match was. Devin Storm beat Sabu in a no DQ match, and then Ernest Miller and Rick Steiner took on the West Hollywood Boys, which was Lenny Lane and Lodi. And in the main event, you had Jeff Jarrett defending that World Wrestling All-Stars title against Brian Christopher. It was supposed to be a Macho Man Randy Savage, but yeah, he called out for that one.
He didn't snap into that, huh?
He was not digging it. Ooh, yeah. That was a night that the cream did not rise to the top. No? Nothing?
No, nothing.
It's like I'm working with DKM here.
No, I'd be a lot grumpier.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, going back to World Wrestling All Stars, that was for the record, that was their 2002 February 2002 pay per view. They would go on to have like let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 more events out of a total of 31 that toured all over the world. Australia is where they were kind of founded at, but also Ireland, England, Scotland, Wales, Germany, and Austria. So they did do some fair touring, but yeah, it was very short-lived.
Another thing that I think hurt too is the WWE started doing a lot more international touring then.
Yeah, and I think that was where the draw was too, because those were so severely underserved markets. Remember, like at that time, WWE was doing like a UK tour, like, you know, once a year maybe. And there wasn't much of a UK wrestling scene back at that time. You know, World of Sport was already gone and had been gone for a while, and there was very few independents in the UK area. There wasn't like a major promotion. You know, the World of Sport's coming back. They made their announcement that they're coming back, and you know, over the course of many years, those indies got built up only for NXT UK to kind of knock it back down again.
Yeah. I hope EC3 ends up in that World of Sport. I think that's something that would be very big for him and the NWA. And what a good segue, by the way.
Yeah, an amazing segue, because I was actually thinking that the other day, like international touring, Australia, the UK, all of this. The NWA very much enjoys having their champions being able to defend internationally. It would kind of be, I think, in the NWA's best interest if they developed a working relationship with one of these promotions internationally. World Series of is it World Series? No, World of Sport Wrestling in the UK, although traditionally was never previously aligned with the NWA, having an allegiance, a partnership, an agreement with the NWA today. I mean, EC3, the Southern Six, what's left of Pretty Empowered, Max the Impaler. I mean, instantly makes your roster very unique to the UK. There isn't those kind of wrestlers, just aren't growing on trees. And so I think that would make their brand very unique by having those talents when you mix them in with other, UK standouts, and then being able to showcase that on the World of Sport, and then also being able to showcase those talents in the NWA. I think that'd be a win-win situation. I think you're onto something.
Does Burchill still work for the NWA?
We haven't seen Burchill in, since before Hard Times. So I can't tell you that. I don't know what Burchill's doing at this moment. Tom Latimer obviously is still on the roster, but I know that because of his past with Charlotte, that I know that there was a lot of outcry from the UK wrestling scene about Tom Latimer returning. And I understand the dynamic, but I also feel really bad for all of the situation that has occurred, because it's like Tom was never charged with domestic violence on Charlotte, and any of those charges that were on him were dropped, but yet he still kind of wears that scarlet letter, if you will, and can't shake it. And he's clean and sober. He has a relationship with Camille. They're married, for crying out loud. He's been a very well-behaved, mad bastard of pro wrestling, but he can't shake that. And anytime he gets booked, to do some of these shows, there's a lot of outcry from the local fans about, his history, his past. And it's like, I wish you guys knew what you were really complaining about, because that situation's a lot different than, say, some of the other wrestlers that were canceled for that Me Too movement.
Here's the thing, too. Wrestling has this weird dichotomy when it comes to controversy. Some people are very controversial and they still end up working TV tapings or other companies and never seem to disappear. And others who get canceled for things that are, I can't say minor. Definitely don't want to say that. Something that maybe that they don't get a second chance. They never, ever get a second chance when they possibly can deserve one. Not necessarily for people that never deserve a second chance. I'm talking about the people that can try to get their life back together, that didn't do some really horrendous things out there. They deserve a second chance. And I think that's the problem. There's the people that might actually deserve it and don't get it, and the people that should be 100% blackballed still find their way back in.
Yeah. It's a weird kind of universe where in wrestling, it's like sometimes you can be a piece of shit and still get the attention, still get the opportunity, and that's wild to me.
I just think it's whoever is the person that is leading the diatribe of hate. It's whether it's that you have one of those people that's leading it or not.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot, and am I going to piss a lot of people off? I've been watching The Accolade on the Disney, and while it's not great, there's a lot of times I'm reading some of the hate that's out there, and I could just tell it's somebody copying and pasting what other people are thinking because they're not thinking themselves. And while again, it's far from perfect, it's nowhere near as bad, and it doesn't ruin Star Wars for me. Like they're all typing. I'm doing the typing motion in the air, in case you're wondering. They're not ruining Star Wars, and they're not ruining the Force, and they're not like, with the helmet they turns the lightsaber off. Spoiler alert. It's like, Jesus Christ, you ever heard of Tartosis? They only read so much stuff. First of all, if it still was killed, it wouldn't be making so much money. I wouldn't have bought a Star Wars book.
I 100% agree with you on that take. I don't think anyone could kill Star Wars, at least for me.
If Jar Jar can, nothing can.
You know, I watched the Book of Boba, right? And
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge. I loved Boba Fett, the character. I did not really enjoy that series, but I still watched every goddamn episode. You know what I'm saying? And you know, the Mandalorian, right? I watched every single episode of that, and I loved it. And going back and watching Rebels, I haven't watched The Bad Batch yet, but
Oh, that's good. It definitely turned out good. I recommend it.
I've heard it's very, very good. But like everything I watch from Star Wars, I've enjoyed, and even the movies. Okay, I get it. If it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. But I was a kid growing up, and I wanted Star Wars to have a mainline connection, to just tap it right here in the vein and give me more. I was like Ryback, feed me more. And I can't get enough. And same thing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Has there been some duds? Absolutely. But I'd still rather watch a bad Marvel movie than most other content that's available.
I'm old enough to remember that I was a kid when when Return of the Jedi came out, but there was a huge outrage. The Ewoks ruined my Star Wars. And I was so mad about the Ewoks, and there was so much hate about that. And then I remember when the remastered movies and Queen of Shooting first ruined Star Wars. And, you know, I remember there was so much backlash and hate and talk about how they ruined Star Wars and Star Wars was dead for that. And I really remember when they talked about Star Wars being dead with the prequels.
Yeah, I remember that too, right? And now they're beloved by, you know, the generation after us love those movies. And I remember going, I'm not into the pod race here. Like, can we have edited that out? And like the generation after us are like, the pod race is so cool. And I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? It sucks.
Here's what it is. It's what you grow up on is what you're going to love. And if it's not that, then you hate it. It's the same reason that when you're a kid and they have Saturday morning cartoons geared to all those sugar-loaded cereals and toy commercials that were called cartoons towards you. It's no different than it was. You were young and you were impressionable and you were taken advantage of. That's why they do it in religion. When they indoctrinate you in religion when you're young, that's why they indoctrinate you with politics when you're young. That's why they indoctrinate you with people's opinions constantly, or trying to flush their own things onto you as you're young. It's because you're young and impressionable. What you watch, what your first is, what's his name? The guy that comes in and talks about the AEW is the only wrestling he's ever watched and he loves it. He doesn't know better. That's what he watches. That's what he grew up on. That's what he's going to love. That's that little connection in his brain that made him. That's why he loves it. And that, you know, I'm not going to hold him on that because didn't have the older stuff. He has what he has, and that's why he loves it. So that's fine. It's just I hate when people, instead of having their own opinions and having a discourse and talk and intellectual conversation and stuff like that, intellectual intercourse like that, they'll just take the same person's opinion and half the time not even edit it and just put the same thing out there. I mentioned a comment on something on a Star Wars TV show about the Acolyte, and I have 50 people basically copying. It kind of reminds me of like the AWP guys that just sit there and they have like 11 followers and 7,000 posts, and their picture is like some picture of Sky Blue's ass. And they're yeah, I know, I don't mind that part, but and they sit there and they just bitch and complain, and it's like copy and paste the same talking points over and over and over again. It just reminds me of that diatribe. See, I'm turning into DK. There's my diatribe for you.
Roswell, bringing it back to wrestling, Roswell said something that I feel is worth posting, and he said, as we talk about backgrounds, this is why I like Jacob Fatu. He's a walking testament to overcoming bad decisions and being redeemed before a higher power. That's in regards to the Latimer topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It almost kept him out of the WWE, and if McMahon was still there, probably would.
100% would have. They did not want to touch him, and let's be honest, Jacob Fatu is a very talented individual, even when he was a little bit heavier, right?
Yep.
Like he looks great. He looks like a machine right now. But even when he was a little bit bigger, that guy was moving around the ring like a junior heavyweight.
It's
And
better for his knees and his career and his longevity that he is like this. I did like him better when he was bigger, only because it's incredibly impressive to watch a guy that big do what he does. But he's still, in fact, he's still so athletic and he's so talented and he's intimidating. And that look, he's got something special. And it's a shame that if you lose something special for something you did stupid when you were young. I'm glad there was no videotapes when I was younger because I did a lot of stupid. That's part of the reason I have trouble walking. As you're eating.
yeah, I was sorry. I love Tootsie Rolls, and my wife got me like a bag of them, and I will literally eat all of them if I can.
Green ones?
Green ones, yellow ones, even the vanilla ones. And it's called Fruit Chews. And I think we had this discussion once before, and I think you smartened me up to that vanilla is technically a fruit. If you did not, somebody else did. But I was like, vanilla is like a spice. It's not a fruit. No, it's a fruit. But anyways.
It wasn't me, but it's not a seed. So it's not a coating of a seed. I'm not sure what it would be.
Yeah.
I would consider it an herb, but I don't know.
Yeah, I did too. But they're like, no, it's technically, maybe it was DKM. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Not important. I love them, and I would eat all of them if I could.
70% of vanilla comes from either cherry barrels and or beaver
glands, anal glands. Yeah. Yeah. So getting back to, I grew up in the 90s, right? And there wasn't a lot of cancel culture. There was no such thing as PC, right?
No, you're politically incorrect. If you weren't politically incorrect, you were something wrong with you.
We said a lot of things that I would not say today. There's a lot of phrases I used back then that I absolutely would not use today. In fact, there is a message board that is permanently blocked and frozen in time and inaccessible that was very popular in Southern California, where many current WWE celebrities, wrestlers, personalities would post and say the most heinous, offensive shit you've ever heard, but you won't see it because thankfully the owner of that website indefinitely put the kibosh on that. But that was commonplace. We said all kinds of things that was terrible. If you were to hold me accountable for the things that I said when I was a kid, man, I wouldn't be here. You guys would have canceled me a long time ago. I think I feel like there has to be some sort of learning curve. Now, obviously, if somebody assaulted somebody, that's a different story. But I do believe in redemption, and I do believe that people can grow. And I'm happy for Jacob Fatu. I wish Tom Latimer would receive the same treatment. And maybe he won't, but I hope for his sake and for the NWA that he continues to be treated with a little bit of dignity and respect, because he's not the same guy he was back then.
None of us are. I mean, my knees are definitely not.
No, my back isn't.
You have had a week back for about a week back now.
I've had a week back for about. I did the math. Like I was in high school. I was probably about 16. And I'm coming up on 46. That means I've spent 30 years of my life with a bad back. Amazing.
Well, instead of the Bad Back, you should watch the Bad Batch. It's a good show.
There you go. I didn't get to Willie's joke earlier, so let me see if I can find it.
Is it a Tyrus joke?
Always.
Every once in a while, he'll throw a non-Tyrus joke out just to, mess with us.
Willie, post it again because I don't see it. All right.
I miss Willie's Tyrus jokes. They're great. One of the highlights of this podcast. I also like how mad he gets when I take his thunder.
You're gimmick infringing. No, I was thinking the other day. I keep thinking about how to grow this channel. And one thing I keep thinking about is just a 24-hour live stream. Not a live stream, but a 24-hour stream that is always running, whether it be old interviews or some of the matches that I filmed or some of the clips from wrestling shows or things of that nature. And I think it would be amazing just to have Willie just one line zinger after another about how bad Tyrus is, and maybe have a big photo of Tyrus behind it and You know, Tyrus is so fat. How fat is Tyrus? He's so fat that I don't know. I'm not.
We should have an Alliance Guys telethon. Bring different people on to do different parts. Have a telephone thing that people call and donate to diabetes research.
It's not supposed to be a donation, right? Like, we're providing content, and if you're enjoying the content, your eyeballs are generating revenue for the podcast, for the live stream. If you're listening to it on, Apple or Google Play or whatever, iHeartRadio, yeah, we're on there too. If you listen to the podcast, you're generating interest for us. If you're sharing our articles or liking our photos and comments and stuff, you're sharing the community, you're growing the site. All that's beautiful. And if you financially want to support it, I mean, you could always buy Dubby. You could always buy hats or T-shirts. There's lots of ways to support the site, but I don't want people to just call up and donate money. That's not what I'm looking for.
Now let's do an actual telethon, like on the UHF, exactly. That's exactly my thought on that one. Or the that one episode of Full House where they had the telethon, or the one they do with Jerry Lewis they used to do.
I'm not nearly charming enough to compare myself to Weird Al Yankovic. Willie Bowen, Tyrus was stripped of his hot dog eating heavyweight championship. That's
why did he eat the belt by accident?
He ate the. See that? There you go. That was your punchline, Willie. That would have been a good one. All right. So let's talk a little bit about why we're here today. Because we will talk a little bit more NWA after this, but it's kind of funny because the topic I posted on Twitter, and it got kind of a lot of people upset with me. Now, it's funny because with Jade not even seeing that post because he doesn't have social media, he says, "Hey, I have an idea. Why don't we talk about who's the better world champion, EC3 or Nick Aldis?" And I'm like, "Did you read my post?" And he's like, "No, I don't have social media." And I thought, well, that's funny, man, because it was like exactly what I had posted. I am of the mindset that I think EC3, as of right now, has done more as NWA Worlds Heavyweight Champion than Nick Aldis did as his second reign as World Heavyweight Champion. I'm going to say, like, his first run as champion is unmatched. It's you can't really compare it. He won the title at the in December 9th, 2017, and lost it at the All-In event. He held it for less than a year. I think it was a total of like 9 months. And in that time, he was able to take the title to the UK, which, again, I'm not going to say is an overly big deal, right? As a world champion who is native to the United Kingdom, like, bringing the title to the UK wasn't a huge deal. But what he did after that was, he defended it in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, those 10 pounds of gold series that were focused on his run. Obviously, the feud that was being built up between him and Cody Rhodes for All In was a huge deal. I'm sad that the NWA has wiped their YouTube channel a couple of times because we missed out on how many views those original videos had, which were in the hundreds of thousands. And, Nick Aldis was able to take the 10 pounds of gold to mainland China the first time that the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Championship was defended in China. That was a huge deal. He did take the title on a tour with the House of Hardcore through Australia. So, I mean, when you look at that window of that 9-month period where Nick Aldis became World's Heavyweight Champion, I mean, there was so much positive. His second run was a stinker, if you ask me. The second run was kind of all not very good because he won the title. He went to Ring of Honor, had a few spots there, retained the title against Marty Scurll at the Crockett Cup. We were introduced to this new show called Power with Nick Aldis as World's Heavyweight Champion. Was quickly put into a feud with Tim Storm, where the crux of the challenge was that if Tim lost the title, if Tim did not win the title, he would never be able to challenge for it again, which I think is just stupid booking. You paint yourself into a corner with those kind of decisions. And then he didn't do a whole lot as champion before the pandemic hit, and did even less as champion during the pandemic, yet was still counting each and every single day as champion as part of a record-breaking title reign. When the pandemic came to close, he had a handful of defenses during that time. And as soon as the NWA was back at it, he had that successful title against defense against Aaron Stevens, and then was quickly embroiled in a feud with Trevor Murdoch over the 10 pounds of gold. And that was kind of it.
Okay. Can I counter rebuttal?
Absolutely, you can.
If we're going to talk about who's a better champion, you have to do both reigns together.
Okay.
Second, yes, that pandemic is always going to be an outlier because nobody was really doing much during then. Even the WWE had trouble to run during then and having trouble getting wrestlers and stuff like that. So that pandemic ruined a lot of stuff. It ruined, I think, partially the NWA. They lost a lot of momentum. I really believe it was a poor decision not to continue on. I understand financially why they didn't do it, but I think it definitely hurt them. Even now, it hurts. That still hurts them now. And of course, the Me Too movement happening during then took away some of their little stay in their minds when it came to, the decision making in the NWA. And it took away future opponents too. Like, I don't think Trevor Murdoch would have been champion. I think it would have been Marty Scurll.
Yeah.
But I think that deal with the Ring of Honor, if it wasn't for Marty Scurll's Me Too problems, would have maybe led to more appearances of the NWA Championship and Aldis and stuff like that. So if you're going to take about what there was, you have to look at it as the whole, his championship reign. And as a whole, his championship reign was impressive. And considering, again, during that pandemic, he had the championship wrestling from Hollywood match, including against Mike Bennett, yeah. And he had the feud that people actually cared about with Trevor Murdoch, built to a big match that people actually wanted to see. And that whole weekend, I think, was successful, in my opinion. It was the last successful thing I think the NWA has done, in my opinion. But it was actually good build-up. There were some good matches. There were some good feuds. The match against Murdoch was good. It had a story that people cared about. It had people who were invested in it. They had no idea how to follow it up with Murdoch, unfortunately. But I think everything to that was great. And he was also champion during a bigger time period where more eyeballs were on the NWA. And he had championship wrestling from Hollywood to put himself out there. And he was defending as much as he could in different places and different wrestling promotions. I believe he even wrestled Dirty Money during that time.
Yes, he did.
And that's, that was a big deal. I know her Dirty Money at the time for getting that match. He really did put himself, and he was more spotlight on him. And no matter what, I still will say there will probably, as good as bad as this may not be, there would not be an AEW, or it wouldn't be the way it was if it wasn't for that build between Cody and Aldis. And Aldis 100% carried his weight in that feud.
No doubt about it. I 100%. What's that?
Again, I'm sorry. I had more butt on that too.
Oh, go ahead.
But I think EC3 will eventually be a better champion than Aldis. The problem is they don't have a 10 pounds from gold following him around for all these cool defenses. If it wasn't for shows like this and his own Instagram page, we'd have no idea that he's been defending it in Ohio Valley Wrestling and defending it in Australia and defending it at All Japan Pro Wrestling, which is, big to us, and defending it in France and all over Europe. And did he defend it in Puerto Rico?
I don't think he's been to Puerto Rico yet.
And has he been to Canada yet?
Yes.
So he's defended it in Canada. He has Puerto Rico still as an opportunity, in my opinion, to work with.
Sure.
They still, obviously, maybe something will happen again with Mexico. Who knows if Billy going to go over another international tour?
I think there's almost under no one's. Let me choose my words a little bit better. I think there will definitely be, at some point, a title defense in Mexico. I also believe that there will be some sort of title defense in Puerto Rico. Hell, you even have EC3 out there saying that he'd be willing to defend the 10 pounds of gold at that Soft Ground Wrestling Association. I'm not sure what country that is in, but that's the promotion where a lot of people have been talking about it as of late. I don't. Do you know what country that is? And I'm gonna have to look that up too.
I think it's Uganda, because I always made the joke about Kamala. They're a national hero.
Yeah, I think you're right. Soft.
By the way, the EC3 might be wrestling, defending that championship. I think it may have been announced, I'm not sure, in Alaska.
Yes. And he will be the first champion to defend in Alaska. Yes, it is Uganda. They recently got a TV deal. It's a Ugandan TV deal, but still, nonetheless, I think that's pretty awesome. And there's been a lot of Mansoor and the other guy, I don't remember his name. Mace. They appeared there. A SoCal guy. I guess technically he's a Las Vegas guy. Gregory Sharp appeared there. Cody Rhodes donated a ring to that promotion. But EC3 says he does want to have that match in the soft ground, not in an actual ring. So that I think that's really cool. And when you think about what the highlights for Nick Aldis' run as champion, right? Let's just put it down to the brass tacks, right? The highlights. Obviously, the biggest thing he did was semi-main evented All In with Cody Rhodes, right? I think that was the biggest thing that Nick Aldis did as his run as World's Heavyweight Champion. That appearance alone, that time alone, brought so many eyeballs to the NWA, brought so many eyeballs to the 10 Pounds of Gold, the YouTube series. And I think had that not happened, I don't think Power would have happened as quickly as it did. He also took the title to Australia, which, again, that's not commonplace for NWA champions. Adam Pearce did it. Colt Cabana did it. I don't believe any other champion did it in that time besides Nick Aldis. Now, taking the title to China was kind of a big deal, right? But because no one's ever done it before or since. So I think that's a big accomplishment as well. Taking the title to the UK, because it was Nick Aldis, to me, that diminishes the achievement. Because
yes, he's from the UK, but it's still a UK defense. You don't diminish Gary Steele, do you?
Well, so the thing about it is, though, when he won that title, I think those dates were already lined up, and he just said, okay, well, I'm champion, so I'm going to defend the title now.
So he got the belt somewhere it was.
All right.
Getting it somewhere matters. I mean, if does that mean the matches in Ohio for EC3 don't mean anything?
Not that they don't mean anything, but I think the fact that he's wrestling the Midwest, the Exodus Pro matches, to me, carry less weight than, say, like his title defense in Elk Grove, California, or his title defense in Lake Elsinore, California. Not because these are more populous areas. No, that's not it at all. In fact, I'm sure Cleveland, Ohio has a much greater population than either one of those cities. But that's his promotion. Of course he's going to get booked there.
So it doesn't matter, though. He's putting the belt in front of people to be seen.
Okay, so with that being said, of all the accomplishments that that Nick Aldis had, let's look at the accomplishments so far for EC3, right? So he won the title at the 75th anniversary show by defeating
500 pounds of turds in a 25-pound bag.
So he won the title, and then he was quick to defend the title, quick and efficiently. He defended the title on Power, wrestled against Jay Bradley. He would have defenses later against former champion Jack Stain in Sarasota, Florida. He defended against Tom Latimer at Samhain, defended against Silas Mason at Hard Times, defended against Sam Adonis at the Crockett Cup, which we'll see, I think, next week. To me, I think kind of more importantly, without a promotion backing him, he was able to get to Australia, right? That wasn't an NWA booked event. That was him. He was able to get to All Japan Pro Wrestling, which, in years past was a very significant territory for the NWA. There's so much history involved with the National Wrestling Alliance and All Japan Pro Wrestling, and we've talked about that at length. But the last time that the 10 pounds of gold, or excuse me, the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Championship was defended in Japan, with All Japan, was in 1989 with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And I always think of, like, for All Japan Pro Wrestling, the last NWA Worlds Heavyweight Champion that they featured was Ricky Steamboat. The next Worlds Heavyweight Champion that they featured was EC3. That carries weight with me. Maybe I'm stupid, maybe I'm naive, but I feel like that carries a lot of weight.
And his accomplishments too is he got those bookings, just like he got his own bookings running his own promotion.
Fair enough.
It isn't the NWA getting him these bookings, by the way, except for the ones they book him for the Power.
Yeah.
And maybe I guess the territory, even the territories, I'm sure he might reach out to some of these territories like, okay, I want to work this. What do we do?
Yeah. And our boy James H. Jackson, who is in the house, he says, I just did a quick search and found 15 of his title defenses in 30 seconds from around the world. It seems each of these promotions is posting the match on their respective YouTube channels. Yes, I did see that Italy, one of his opponents with the artist formerly known as Elias, I guess he's going by Elijah now, and their opponent, the Red Scorpion, posted that match on his YouTube channel, which you can see it. I should have made links, but you could find it. It's not difficult.
Real quick, Jay, could you make a section in the Discord page, which, by the way, if you're not part of the Discord, join it, of maybe their EC3 defenses, so maybe we can post them all there and watch them. It'd be nice to have a place that we could post those 15 things. We could watch one after another. Maybe make a quick little playlist out of it from all those different things, so it could also be seen.
No, that's
James A. Jackson. Could you post that on there? I always wanted that, and then I always wanted a separate one where we could just post NWA World Title matches throughout the history, because I know I post them all the time on the Discord. It's probably the only thing I have social media wise, and that's because Jay makes me be there. But
I just think it's important that you support the Discord. I don't think that's a villainous ask.
It is a villainous ask, dragging me to the arena on the 31st. No, it's just, I can't wait to see. I really hope Pollo's there. Pollo, you better be there.
I talked to Pollo, and Pollo said that if they're not there, that they will be very sad. I have a feeling that Pollo won't be there, just because if you watch the NWA recently, it seems like they're trimming down who they're bringing to the tapings, who they're using. I mean, like, again, Missa Kate didn't re-sign with the NWA, but if you've been paying attention, that didn't seem that out of the blue, because we haven't seen Missa Kate on TV since before Hard Times. And, that was weird. I think it's one of those deals where until they have a storyline for Pollo, I don't think Pollo will be on TV, which is a shame. I think Pollo's a great writer. Pollo has the NWA magazine that they're really putting their heart and soul into, and I think it's great. Definitely download it and read it. It looks good. It reads good. It's very informative. But, man, Pollo as a character on television, I really feel like they're missing the boat with that.
I have two suggestions for the NWA to use Pollo. Pollo either needs to be the anti-May, to have like May interview like the one side of the locker room and Pollo interview the other side.
Yeah.
Or I really, really want Pollo to be Trevor Murdoch's perfect 10 like baby doll.
You will, yeah. I mean,
Pollo and the and Knox and Murdoch's.
Well, so I think that they should break up Knox and Murdoch. I just feel like that's kind of ran its course. They haven't put the tag titles on them. I don't feel like they're gonna put the tag titles on them.
Okay, then Murdoch turning heel with Pollo as his perfect 10.
I mean, you're onto something. That's not a bad idea. I was kind of the idea that somebody like Dak Draper or like Brady Pierce before he rejoined the
Spectaculars.
Yeah. I thought he would have been a good choice to put with Pollo, because I like the idea of Pollo managing a heartthrob, a handsome gentleman, to make Silas Mason jealous, to extend that feud that if they ever decided to go back to, I think is already built up, that it wouldn't take much to do it.
I like the visual contrast of Pollo and Murdoch.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like it's very similar to the pairing with her and Silas Mason.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a perfect pairing. And I was the first one on here going, I don't get it. And then by week 3, I'm like, this is fucking great. This is amazing. This is what I wanted from the NWA.
Yeah, the Pollo I do miss, really. As much as I can't even say I like the Southern Six, I like the wrestlers involved, but I still don't think they're doing them right. But that Pollo and Murdoch, in fact, I'm sorry, Thrillbilly. I really wanted Thrillbilly and Murdoch to team and then split up. Called the Redneck Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, that would have been a very interesting partnership, and I don't think you're the first person to suggest that. I know I had heard that might have happened, and I think there were talks about it, but all that got scrapped in favor of the Southern Six. But could you imagine Trevor and Silas Mason, Murdoch and Mason? I mean, it's the M&M that we've all wanted. That would be pretty wild.
With Pollo in their corner.
Oh man,
I can imagine them wearing really outdated fur coats,
like Dusty and
Magnum. Yeah.
That'd have been amazing.
I also, if the Blunt Force Trauma ever leave Aaron Stevens, I also think they would work well with Pollo.
Yeah, kind of like when a woman took over after Teddy Long left.
Yes.
Yeah,
the woman.
Yeah, I think that would work really well too. I agree with you. I especially like a team like Blunt Force Trauma. As much as Carnage and Damage are impressive in the ring, they're not really given opportunity to speak on the mic. So if it was Pollo being the voice of the muscle, like that would be pretty amazing as well. James H. Jackson points out that the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Championship is defended against the Calamity Delson Alexander, with the NWA representative Aaron Stevens on hand watching all the action from Buffalo Championship Wrestling. So yeah, the matches are out there. You just gotta kind of find them, and I think that's a great idea, Jaden. And that's something I think I will put that channel together later. And with guys like James H. Jackson helping out, we could really get that into
matches and posters.
Yeah.
All in one area. Boy, it'll make it easy for you to find when you're putting things on the podcast too.
Yeah, it will. So there are little hidden nuggets on our Discord page. If you haven't joined up yet, I think you should. You might find some interesting content that's not really available anywhere else.
There's plenty of posters I would consider a nugget on the Discord.
Well, we didn't finish our conversation about EC3, and
oh no, we still got more to go.
So to me, when I look at his accomplishments in such a short amount of time, I mean, he's wrestled in so many different states.
Oh, EC3 and Pollo.
That would be so. Yes, ultimately, there's very few people I think that wouldn't work with Pollo.
I see Tully and Baby Doll when I see that.
Yeah.
Apparently, I associate Baby Doll with Pollo. I just realized that. Of course, Samantha Starr.
Samantha Starr, that's another topic for another day. But man, can we just take a second to remember the good times? Can we just take 1 second to remember what was the original Pretty Empowered?
Are you going to play this thing just because you miss them?
Can you believe that there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast? Shame on you! Shame on you! My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion, and I'm Kinsey Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion. And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what is it called again? Podcast, period. You're ugly. Period. Pretty Empowered approved.
You can't see it, but I was giving you the Sal face the entire time. You're really trying to get your money's worth out of that, though.
Well, I hear the Sarah McLachlan song, like, I will remember you, and it just,
Da, 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 da.
It just makes me sad. Like, maybe we're talking about Pollo, so I can't really say one of the biggest misses, but maybe the second biggest miss in the NWA is breaking up Pretty Empowered.
I don't think so, because if they're that talented, instead of getting them once, you can get them multiple times now.
We should all be so lucky. Look, all kidding aside, I really feel like Ella Envy, not that she outgrew Pretty Empowered, but I feel like, yeah, she could be utilized a lot better as a tag team wrestler. She is a 3-time NWA Women's Tag Team Champion. She's held the title with, of course, Kylie and Kenzie Page, but she also held the belt with Roxy. And, when the NWA is severely struggling to have a decent women's tag team roster, Ella Envy and Miss Star might make a very good tag team if they can figure out how to work around some of the obstacles with Samantha Starr. I think she has talent. I think she gets lost in the ring at times. And I think if they lean heavy into Ella Envy and have that very narcissistic look at me approach, I think they can both do very well. But nevertheless, with a division that is strongly needing bodies, I think putting Ella Envy into a tag team would make a lot of sense and kind of help the NWA cultivate a bigger tag team division.
Let's get back to EC3, but I do have some ideas for the women's division afterwards.
All right, we'll get to that. Sorry, little ADHD today. I apologize. That's on me. Had a lot of W and a lot of energy, so I'm bouncing all over the place.
How are those dollar C4 cans you were drinking?
The C4 is a great pre-workout. I love the way that the tingle hits when you're in the gym and you're like, it feels good when I'm hurting myself. So yeah, I've been very happy with that. But what I really like about W is it's that jitterless energy. My brain is going a mile a minute. My body is very tired right now. I've been going at it all day. I just got home from a 3-hour car drive. So, instead of being here like all tired and ready to go to sleep, my brain is firing on all cylinders and maybe a little bit too much. But that's what I like W for. I would not drink a C4 at 5 in the afternoon here in Southern California, 8 p.m. on your side of the coast. But I definitely have no problem with the W because I know that it's a jitterless energy, and when I come down from it, it's very easy and relaxing.
That's good to hear. So back to EC3. Again, I think he's not far from being the best NWA champion. I think if they can get onto CW proper, that will help him, or maybe an outlet where he's seen more. It's funny how he's wrestling so much internationally. International fans can't see NWA Power. How one's for you, Tim. But yeah, the problem is, I think, again, is the overall exposure the NWA is getting to the public right now is at an all-time low. And they're not, this is where really, if they can't do, put the things on YouTube anymore, they should bring back the 10 pounds of gold. They really, really, really should have people, even if it's EC3 himself and brings a friend and brings a camera, follow around to these different things that he goes to and make it 10 pounds, have an editor do so, and put that on YouTube.
Yeah, no, with 100%, you were correct on that. For example, in Southern California, just a few weeks ago, I got to see EC3. I was very excited about that because initially I wasn't going to be able to make that show. And so at the last minute, it worked out. My wife was super cool that day. Went to a baseball game before. She dropped me off and literally kept the kids busy for 3 hours doing anything but wrestling so that I could see EC3 and actually but have a little chat with them as well. But it would have been so easy for them to do 2 or 3 different things. Number one, I think it would have been really smart for the NWA to, and I know this is kind of a big ask from the talent, but like, hey, kid, if we give you a reduced cost for using this wrestler, can we use that footage? We're not going to put up the whole thing. In fact, we'll put links to your site so that you can, our viewers will come to your page, but maybe show clips of that and have those clips on their YouTube channel. Or, hear me out, or even on Gary's show, this is the NWA podcast, having feature clips of that match, I think would get more NWA fans to check out what Valley Wrestling Connection did, and vice versa. Being able to have the NWA fans go visit that site, and having those fans, having seen EC3, maybe go back to the NWA YouTube channel. If there was a 10 pounds of gold series where EC3 talks about his opponent, talks about the match, you give us 5 minutes of the 15-minute match, or even less, and do that on a weekly basis. I think that would be amazing, right?
Don't even need to show the match. They can build around that.
Sure.
It's the build-up that's important. It's the after result, the interviews. If you do show a few highlights, anybody remember when the NWA Worldwide Wrestling used to go around? For me, it was local channel 17, PHL 17 in Philadelphia was our local that had it. Many a times, and the same thing for the NWA Saturday Night Show, they would open that before. It was a cold open where they would just show some highlight from a house show. Ric Flair coming out and Dusty Rhodes coming out playing their music, or Dick Murdoch giving the brainbuster to Nikita Koloff, or something like that. They would just, all you need is just like a little highlight from that footage. Just like, hey, we'll put the YouTube link on the bottom. We'll put it, so they know. But here is EC3 in France, and this big crowd screaming and yelling and singing his song.
Yeah.
That would go huge for making the NWA look like a big deal. I just wish I wasn't a bass player and that I wasn't opinionated. And I'm not an ass kisser. So then Billy could hire me. And
well, look, he would hire you and then he wouldn't listen to you, right? I mean,
he would listen to me. I got a big. I was about to say something inappropriate. I got a big mouth that I can be listened. People listen to me whether they want to agree with me or not. Usually they just end up getting rid of me, but I make sure they hear me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think what you're saying is something that a lot of us have said, but with the CW deal being exclusive to the United States, that certainly does hurt the brand, and by proxy hurts EC3, because again, when Aldis was champ, you could watch that anywhere in the world on YouTube, and those matches were available on YouTube. Hell, they were even giving away pay-per-view matches on YouTube at some point. So that's a great that's definitely a point for Aldis and his run as World's Heavyweight Champion, is a larger audience could see it. CW, I don't know the numbers, what they're getting. I don't know how many people are actually watching the NWA on the CW, but I do know that the compensation has to be higher. Otherwise, you wouldn't give up so much to be on an inferior advertised reward. With YouTube, and YouTube is very black and white. It's not hard to find out those numbers, or at least close proximity. And we know that the NWA was not making that much money being on YouTube. We're talking like thousands of dollars a month, and which sounds great to a guy like me who's puts almost $0 into my production. But when you're the NWA putting $10,000 into a monthly taping to only get $1,000 in return, it's like, that's a huge loss. And then knowing that the pay-per-view numbers were not anything really huge either, like definitively being on the CW and getting paid for that content and not relying as much on the advertising dollars, I think is a huge win for the NWA. I don't know if they're breaking even. I don't know if they're making a profit. None of that's really public knowledge, but I know that when they were on YouTube, the visibility was there, but they were obviously not making the return on investment that you need to have a surviving business.
A lot of companies now, a lot of podcasters, a lot of social media people, they still do YouTube, even though they don't make as much on it, but they don't rely on the YouTube algorithm to make the money anymore. They rely on sponsorships.
Yeah.
I'm sure if the NWA had the right people in the background, in the procession, they could have got a sports company to sponsor them. They could have got a Ghost or even a Dubby or Muscle Tech or something to sponsor the NWA. They could have got an energy drink. They could have gotten something. They could have gotten sponsors, Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah,
to cover some of those costs.
You're 100% correct on that. And again, where is the outlying problem? Like it all. Anytime I give credit to the NWA, you know who the first person I'm going to mention now and forever? Billy Corgan. If something good is happening in the NWA, I'm going to give Billy Corgan the credit. But the caveat to that is anytime something's bad, I'm also going to give the credit to Billy Corgan. There's no good that isn't Billy's doing, and there's no bad that isn't Billy's fault. It all squarely resounds with him. So, not being able to land a sponsor to help offset your production costs, that's Billy's fault. Pure and simple. Having given talent like Silas Mason an opportunity to showcase who he is with Poyo Lamar and having that dynamic grow so quickly and so organically, that's Billy. Billy did that. That's Billy. So he gets all the credit, but he also gets all the blame. So, you're right. It seems like this product should be good enough. At one point, those early Power episodes were getting like hundreds of thousands of viewers, and instead of running commercials during those broadcasts, what do we get? Kayfabe cocktail commercials.
Yeah, that was stupid. You're telling me right now Billy Corgan couldn't sell pumpkin spice flavored Dubby?
I'm sure he could.
Yeah. Billy Corgan's name, Billy Corgan and NWA wrestlers could put themselves out there in those commercials and sell any product that's looking to sponsor, and they could make a partnership with Billy Corgan too.
I will say this, and this is going to be a little humble brag here, right? So the NWA YouTube channel obviously has taken a hit over the years. Social Blade gives them a total grade of a B-. The Alliance Blogs, Social Blade, also a B-, and the NWA in a sports rank of all the YouTube channels ranks 1,028. The Alliance Blog, we're 5,243rd, but damn it, we're making it happen.
We're catching up. Billy Corgan, we're coming for you, pumpkin.
Yeah, choose your words. Very, very wise. We have, wow, that's something I didn't know. We've had over 1 million video views. Shouldn't they send me a plaque or something?
No, it's subscribers, I think.
Son of a bitch. Well,
you're working your way up, though.
Well, we're at 4,000, and I mean that's look, we're at 4,740,000. My wife gave me her blessing that when we hit 5K, you're going to see an Alliance Blog championship belt commemorating our 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I'll probably mount it right here on the wall because it'll be such a cool thing. And I thought that would be next year, and it's very possible it might be next month. That's how quickly the channel's growing. So
it'll help too when you have content from things you go to, like the 76.
Yeah, well, yes, and that's that's kind of the reason why we went to Forney, because being able to be there to create that NWA content is very specific. Look, when United Wrestling Network gets back to it, I will be at a majority of those shows. And being at there's a lot of wrestling happening here in Southern California, but I don't know how much of that transfers to our greater audience. Roswell's a great dude. I don't know if he cares about, the Valley Wrestling Connection or, Epic Pro. although both those wrestling promotions I would vouch for, Epic Pro has their next event coming up on August 10th. The Alliance Blog is one of their media sponsors. So if you're on our social media, you've seen a lot of posts and reactions to that. And of course, we want to be in business with Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. We talk about it all the time. Hopefully we can be a media sponsor for them as well. And, really, there's a lot of wrestling promotions where we'll be more than happy to work with to help get the word out on their shows and be that media sponsorship. But I don't know how much, Roswell cares about Epic Pro, or I don't know if James H. Jackson cares about Valley Wrestling Connection, where, United Wrestling Network has a presence and they're kind of a little bit more nationally known. So, yeah, I mean, it's it's all about creating content and then also fostering this community that we have. And I'm very happy.
You need to get more Dave Dahl content. He has the second highest Daddy Bear appreciation out of every wrestler on the Dog YouTube page. That's the fact that I remind him all the time.
That is incredibly wild to me. That's just bonkers. But all right. One more thing about Social Blade, and I just wanted to say that they are predicting that in 2 months, on September 11th, 2024, we will have surpassed 5,670 subscribers. I think we hit 5,000 by the end of August. But we'll see.
Guys, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and please share. That's the biggest part.
And I appreciate Roswell's support, man. That's awesome. Thank you, Roswell. Dog, you lost your logo. You lost your logo, Dog.
I'm still there. I can still say it.
No, on my end, it's just the white face, the white.
Oh, really? You were disappeared for like 5 seconds.
Did I really?
Yeah.
Huh. Uh-oh.
You came back.
Well, that's great, but it's still, I'm just kind of curious what's going on. Lou says, I love your enthusiasm, Lou. He says, just don't put 5K on the belt or it will be outdated before you know it. I learned that the hard way with the Cardinals merch that said 10-time World Series champion, and then comes number 11. I don't know, man. The idea was that it was going to be the plaque because, like, I don't think I'm ever going to get 1 million subscribers, but, 5,000 seemed unattainable 2 years ago. Like getting to 1,000 subscribers seemed unattainable 2 years ago. And, it's a lot. It's support from the viewers. It's working hard, putting out fresh content daily and making sure that it's the right mix of content. Some of it's dumb luck, Jaden. Some of it's just dumb freaking luck, but I'm grateful for it. And speaking of which, Veamos Lucha Libre is at 938 subscribers. If you haven't done so, check out Veamos Lucha Libre.
Put it in the chat and make sure you share it. What's my logo now?
It's the Dubby Cup with a J, or the Dubby, my favorite Dubby flavor, the Beach and Peach next to that Alliance mug. I swear, it feels like you're in my house, man. I mean, that could be right.
I like the Beach and Peach too, and I have the Alliance Cup.
Wait.
It's been multiple places with me.
When I was in Mexico, I brought my Dubby Cup with me, and I took pictures of it everywhere because I had delusions of making a video with the Dubby everywhere, but I never got to it. All right. So
by the way, I actually do know there will be some special guests in the future with Dog, for you guys too.
Well,
I'll get you some really good professional wrestlers and maybe even Daredevil Dave Dahl.
Dave Dahl, I think, should come on for like 5 minutes and we just roast him for like 5 minutes. And then when he's getting ready to talk and plug whatever he wants to plug, we just drop him, right?
No, first of all, at his size, it'll take like multiple hours to roast somebody that big.
On the rotisserie.
Yes, he's bigger than Tyrus.
No, he's not bigger than Tyrus.
Sure he is. You haven't seen him in a while. He looks like somebody tried to stuff, basically take all the fluff in a Build-A-Bear workshop and put it in one bear. And that's Dave Dahl.
Did you see the Alliance Bear?
Yes, and I love it. What's it say again when you hit the button?
Thanks for watching alliance-wrestling.com.
My daughters are awesome, by the way. All three of them are here now at my house. So,
yay!
Yeah, when that's a big deal. My oldest turns 20 in August, which is absolutely.
Will she be with you when your family comes to Philadelphia?
No,
Oh.
no. But you will get to meet Claire and Piper. Hopefully, Piper doesn't hit you with a coconut because I know you're allergic. And
that's really the main reason.
Yeah, and you'll get to meet Michelle. Mrs. Cal, and you've never met her before in person. DK met all three. DK met Michelle and Claire and Piper, but Lily, it's harder because she's in school, she's working, she's an adult.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Real quick, are they sitting with us at the wrestling event, or do you have them real far away yet?
They're not even going to the wrestling show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Michelle's not a huge wrestling fan. Believe it or not, she wanted to go to all those wrestling shows just to hang out with me. Crazy thing. But
I bet you she'll become a huge fan of Dangerous and Adrenaline Wrestling. Gladiator Seltzer's #1 wrestling promotion. She'll love all our great wrestlers and Daredevil. Well, she won't love Daredevil Dave Dahl, but nobody loves him.
I don't know. She's into chubby dudes, so maybe she will like him.
He ain't chubby. He's a planet. He ain't no small moon.
Our boy James H. Jackson is talking about WrestleMania. The opening match at Rowan University's WrestleMania saw the Liberty Bros of Ty Thomas and Uncle Slam battle the world's sexiest tag team, consisting of Dad Bod and all natty Adam Matthews.
There is 0 steroids inside Adam Matthews. There's not a steroid in his body.
How do you know? I mean, did you have to extensively test him? I mean, did
he had Olympic level testing because we didn't believe him with that body that he has, that he's not on some kind of performance enhancing supplement.
Anything is possible. You could have a Hawk Tua moment.
I actually tried to get her to come to the dog event, but she wanted way too much money.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Nashville to anywhere in New Jersey is not a cheap flight.
Yeah, I know, but I was trying to I try to leech onto that. I think her spitting on Dave Dahl would be worth it. I mean, she likes to spit on. Never mind.
I knew you were going there. I couldn't stop it. There's no way to turn that off.
Well, I figured I'd leave it a little open-ended.
I'm wondering if DKM is watching right now and just going like this, like what
he does it on the air. Why won't he do it when he's listening or when he watches it later?
That's true. Yeah. So getting back to EC3 versus Nick Aldis. Again, I do think it should be noted that Aldis was a great champ, and I don't just because our relationship wasn't the best, right? EC3 was not a fan of Jay Cal, and to be quite honest,
you mean Aldis?
What did I say?
EC3.
Oh no, I love it. Yeah, sorry.
EC3 doesn't hate you yet.
No, not yet. He will. They all do. The relationship that I had with Nick Aldis was fine in the beginning, but towards the end, once the love affair kind of ended, and I was kind of critical of him when I felt like it needed to be. Obviously, he didn't want to hear anyone being negative about his run as champion. And I'm sure once I become critical of EC3, I'm sure he won't be a big supporter of the Alliance blog. Might even tell me to go eat a tuna sandwich and call me a jabroni. But with that being said,
a filet McFish jabroni. That's what you're going to be.
Filet McFish?
Yeah.
All right. I've been called worse. But going back to Nick Aldis again, like I've always said, his first run as World's Heavyweight Champion, I think in the modern era, can't be touched. You just can't touch it. And I think that is the best compliment I can give him. At the time I was a huge Scrap Iron Adam Pearce fan, and I felt like he was one of our greatest world champions of this era. But All In and China really kind of seals the deal for Nick Aldis. When we look at Adam Pearce, his run as world champion, I mean, he did a lot of very similar to EC3 without the backing of an NWA office. Adam Pearce was able to take the title to Germany, was able to take the title to the UK, multiple times in Australia, multiple times in Canada, on Canadian pay-per-view. I mean, these were kind of big deals. Having defended the title in Mexico City without like Lucha Libre AAA paying for that, that's kind of a big deal. And then, you can't forget about, although I forgot his name completely right now, Rob Conway, the con man. I mean, look, he was our world's heavyweight champion at Wrestle Kingdom. And, Wrestle Kingdom at the time, the only thing bigger was WrestleMania. So I feel like there's a lot of weight to be weighed there, with Rob Conway defending the title in New Japan, not just once, not just at Wrestle Kingdom, but multiple times in Japan, and winning the title multiple times and defending it in Japan. Again, that in this modern era, when you talk about like maybe a Mount Rushmore of the modern NWA champions, with all apologies to Tim Storm and Jack Stane, who I revere and care for very much, and Blue Demon and Colt Cabana. I mean, you got to look at Adam Pearce. You got to look at Rob Conway, Nick Aldis, and EC3. I think that's your 4. Am I wrong?
I really thought you were going to say Mike Rapata, the Sheik.
That's shit. Mike Rapata. Jesus. The Colorado Kid? Are you kidding me?
He could have been managed by what's the guy's name?
Burt Prentice?
No, Burt McFlash or whatever our Colorado lawyer was named. I can't remember.
Oh, White Lavender Jones?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, man. There was a point in time, and I think I've said this before, but I'll share it again. I was pitching to Dave Lagana that they should bring in Bruce Tharp with Jack Stane as a partnership, right? Like Jack Stane would be the muscle and Bruce would be the voice, because Bruce was so arrogant and he did have a very recognizable voice. And Billy Corgan, you stole the NWA from me, and we're going to take it back. And I've got Jack Stane, the former world's heavyweight champion, and we're going to take the belt back. We're going to take it back to Japan. I mean, it would have been fun. And then you have a Nick Aldis versus a Jack Stane feud that would have been kind of meaningful, because we got this guy, Bruce Tharp, who used to own the NWA, taking on Billy Corgan's hand-picked, champion in Nick Aldis. I think that would have been fun, man.
They could have had a match between the two, called it the Rat in a Cage.
Yeah, could have. They should not let me do that again. James H. Jack said, like Jaden said, he had a Dave Lagana level produced series, making the Aldis run feel bigger. Yeah, and look, you can't take away from that. Like, and then Luke, Luke, that's kind of a different era too. Sorry, I'm jumping around. I have ADHD sometimes. Dan Severn brought a million eyes to the NWA. 100%. Dan Severn probably single-handedly kept the NWA alive, right? That was a time when you had Dennis Corluzzo and Howard Brody. Kind of, that's it. Don Owens was gone.
Steve Ricard was the only other one, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't even running shows. He was just on the board of directors. Out in New Zealand, right?
Yeah, right. I think that's where he's from, New Zealand.
Yeah, he wasn't running events. He was just on the board of directors. And so the NWA at that, you had Jim Crockett Jr. in 94, right?
Doing his own thing, though, against what the NWA was doing.
Yeah, but he was there, and he was part of what was happening. You had Corluzzo. And Howard Brody wasn't really running a lot of events either at the time. And Corluzzo was doing a ton for the NWA. He, for all intents and purposes, he was the NWA after WCW New Japan split. And, they thought working with ECW was going to be fruitful. That did not bear any fruit. They started working with Smoky Mountain. Again, Jim Cornette, great ambassador for the NWA, but really didn't do much with Chris Candido as the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Champion, he didn't have a ton of title defenses. But Dan Severn, you put the belt on Severn, and now you've got fans watching the UFC seeing the 10 pounds of gold, and Dennis Corleuzzo as part of the entourage for Dan the Beast Severn. I mean, that was a big deal. I mean, God, that was a huge deal for the NWA. And at the time, being a young 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 18-year-old, whatever it was, and seeing Corleuzzo holding the 10 pounds of gold, walking behind Dan Severn at UFC 5, I think it was, like, that was huge, man. That was such a big deal. And you're like, that 10 pounds of gold, that's what Ric Flair used to hold. That's the belt that Dusty won. That's the belt that, Harley Race was carrying around. What am I seeing here? That's Dan Severn. That's an MMA fighter. Why has he got the 10 pounds of gold? And back then, in the internet infancy stage, you'd go on your AOL grandstand forums and try to figure out what the heck is this going on with the WCW title, because you were ignorant and you just thought the NWA became WCW. Why does he have that belt? And what does it mean? And then you realize, oh, there was still an NWA after Jim Crockett Promotions left. And although it was a much smaller NWA, it still existed. And Dan Severn, being world champion, literally revived that brand in many cases, because the membership blew up exponentially. You had a Joe Price in Florida. You had Ken Taylor in the Southwest. You had Mike Porter and what's the Wild Side promoter?
Bill Behrens.
And all these guys, and Fred Rubenstein, jumping in off the history of Dennis Corleuzzo, kind of bringing that NWA back. You had Antonio Inoki get back into it and use Dave Marquez as his proxy vote. And next thing you know, the NWA is a full-fledged alliance again. And yeah, you're right. You're right, Luthez, and that's 100%. People should acknowledge what Dan Severn did, but I also feel like that's a different era. That's those are the wild. That's the same era as Hashimoto and Carino, as far as I'm concerned.
So you consider everything post TNA?
Yeah, the way I kind of in my mind, the way I formulate it, and I know this is just my thought process, but there was really everything before Jim Crockett Promotions, right? So when you talk about Luthez, he wasn't wrestling for Jim Crockett Promotions. He was literally unifying the titles all across the country. Like, that's a different type of champion. And what Dory Funk was doing and what Jack Briscoe was doing, that wasn't really like Jim Crockett Promotions. That wasn't WCW. That was a different animal. And then you had that WCW era, and then you had the post WCW era, and then you had the TNA era, and then you had the post TNA era, and then you have the Lightning One era. And I mean, you can, for the sake of this argument, I've kind of combined the post TNA era with the Billy Corgan Lightning One era, because the top guys of this time had been Adam Pearce, had been Rob Conway, had been Nick Aldis and EC3. And if you don't want to include the Lightning One guys, then by proxy you throw Blue Demon and Colt Cabana into that list. With all apologies again to Tim Storm and Jack Stain, I love those guys, and I feel like they were great champions. But what Blue Demon did was take the title to Spain and to England and multiple defenses in Mexico. Colt Cabana was defending that title, wearing it in Pro Wrestling Noah, wrestling, and everything I said about Adam Pearce, I didn't even mention this stuff with Ring of Honor, defending that title, him and Brent Albright going back and forth with that title in Ring of Honor, when Ring of Honor was anything but NWA friendly in that time. That was very, those two athletes, Brent Albright and Adam Pearce, weren't exactly main event caliber talents for Ring of Honor. So for them to get those main event matches was a big deal.
Yeah, I don't think there was ever a period of time where NWA was popular with the Ring of Honor stands.
No, and that's okay, because again, that's what we talk about. It's like it wasn't that wasn't their particular flavor of wrestling, but that's okay. They're still, when Albright won the title, I can't remember what the show was, but I think it was in New York. I think it was in the Ballroom.
Hammerstein?
Yes. I think it was in Hammerstein. I could be wrong. That place erupted for Brent Albright winning that title. And you could go look at the YouTube video if you could look it up for Ring of Honor, or maybe go on the AEW's library and look it up. But the crowd goes crazy for Albright winning that title. But they didn't care about the NWA. They just really didn't like Adam Pearce and really liked Brent Albright. And that was a kind of a feel-good moment when you have Albright, who was a babyface for the NWA and for Ring of Honor, winning that title. And he only had it for a couple weeks, maybe 2 months at the most, before Pearce won it back. And then they put the title on Demon, and that was a whole fiasco. But, yeah, I mean, when I look at the Mount Rushmore of the modern-day NWA, I think that's a pretty complete list. I mean, do you have any objections to that list?
I don't really think so. It's, nobody's going to say, some of the other champions out there, nobody pushes for Tenzan, even though he was a good champion, and nobody pushes for Kojima, even though he was a good champion.
And both of them came to the United States to defend the title, and Kojima even took the title, the 10 pounds of gold, to the UK and defended, so that was a big deal too. But did he do more for the NWA than any of the other four names that I mentioned? EC3, Nick Aldis, Adam Pearce, Rob Conway.
See, I think Pearce and Jack Stain. I'd say any of the champions, their main problem is they didn't have what Aldis had either.
Yeah, no, none of them did.
I don't think Murdoch and even Tyrus probably have more notoriety because of the Fox deal, but I don't think any of them had a true thing that Aldis did, and I think that's the problem. Like, other than Cody.
Yeah.
And I think that is a problem. And I guess in some ways, Tim Storm late. But I think that's why EC3 is not right now bigger and more important than Aldis, but I think he can be and should be. And I think the biggest thing they should be doing is they really need to bring back that 10 pounds of gold. And if they can't use that name, if somebody else has the right reason they can't for some reason, they need to find a way to use something to get him out there. And I just, maybe it's my bachelor's in business, working on doctorate. Maybe it's because I am now taking extra marketing classes this semester. But yeah, I don't know why I was super stupid. But they really need to find a way to get the NWA back to where it was just on the power days of the early power. And Cardona, you know what? Cardona's got some name too, but I don't think he was a good champion because of multiple reasons, including injury.
Yeah, like, okay, you can't prevent the injury, right? Like, it's a freak of nature. Like, I don't think he did anything. He wasn't putting himself at risk, right? He wasn't like wrestling a very dangerous style of match. It's just a move went wrong and his arm, he felt it in his shoulder, and that was it. I don't think he did anything particularly dangerous, but I don't think he did anything particularly special for the title either. When he won the belt, we expected to see Cardona take that title everywhere. And although he had it with him a lot of times, he wasn't defending it. And again, we look at 9 months of EC3, right? Is it even 9 months? The end of August, it's less than a year. And in less than a year, he has well over 35 title defenses. He's been all over the world, Japan, Australia, Canada, UK, obviously like 14, 15 different states in the United States and Puerto Rico. Not Puerto Rico. That was Aldis. I apologize. But that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And I don't think it should be taken lightly. And Cardona never had that opportunity. Like, he was defending the TNA Digital Media Championship against Jordan Grace, which another great athlete. But again, that's not pushing the NWA brand. That's pushing the TNA brand, which again, get it. That's maybe they're paying a little bit more money, but he wasn't helping the NWA.
There's the one thing I think holds, in my opinion, that I don't like about EC3 is he also brings the Ohio Valley National Championship with him everywhere.
Yeah.
I think that diminishes from the NWA, and all right, the NWA isn't what it is, it was even just a few years ago, let alone back what it was in the glory days of Jim Crockett promotion. But somebody who is NWA champion should not be trying to win other championship belts. Unless it's to unify with the NWA championship, like say maybe the TNA championship or the MLW championship, and he unifies them into it. He shouldn't be holding any other championship because no championship should mean more or even be desirable. I had this argument with many of the wrestlers from Dog who, want to hold the Dog championship and the WWGP championship. Like, you never had Ric Flair as NWA World Champion want to win the Florida Heavyweight title.
Yeah.
And that's just it. You should every other belt is purely a stepping stone to the NWA champion. That's what it should be. And I know that a lot of these promotions like the Ohio Valley are not part of the NWA, but they should think of that as the contender to the NWA championship. If he's going to work with them, he's going to bring that gold to the Ohio Valley, and that championship should be a stepping stone to be the NWA champion. He shouldn't be that because I think it diminishes from the NWA, makes it look less important.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that's probably the only real complaint I have about EC3.
Yeah, I get that too. And like there was a time when Adam Pearce was your NWA British Commonwealth champion. And as soon as he won the 10 pounds of gold, I mean, I don't even think he formally forfeited the title. He just quit carrying it. That's and Luthez agrees with you on that. He said the Ohio Valley thing is a knock against EC3 for me. I get that. I do. I definitely see what you're saying with that, and I do agree with that. I still feel like that's a lesser title than the NWA World title. Getting back to it, this kind of changed from who was the better champion. I think because I knew I was losing my argument and turned it to about Rushmore of the modern day NWA, which I think I'm firmly on the right side of history for. So I think I'm good with that. It's about that time for us to start wrapping things up. But Jaden, you promised us some Dog news.
Yes.
So give me some Dog news. I got my pen and paper ready. I'm taking notes. Let's go.
All right. On Saturday night, September 28th, at the Sacred Heart Church in Riverton, New Jersey, that doesn't have an expletive to describe it yet.
Not an expletive. You don't want an expletive.
An expletive is still a next term, right? What's the term I want then?
An adjective.
Adjective, that'll work.
An expletive is like this town,
Of course, we're going to have an expletive with the church.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Yeah. So without an adjective yet, do we need to describe it? It's not historic and it's not rustic. I'm sorry. Rustic. And I like, I hate to, all right, Kokushi, I'm giving you some credit. I like the Caucasian because it's the second latest town in New Jersey. But you're going to see Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators make its debut at that Sacred Heart Church in Riverton, New Jersey. And announced already is going to be a Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship match. Assuming Breaker is still champion by the time that match happens, Breaker Morant will defend the Dog Championship against formerly known as Busky, Eric Martin.
No longer
former
Busky.
Dog champion. No, he's got another name now, and I don't remember what it was. I'm just going to call him Busky because I like it better.
I loved Busky. I don't know why he didn't stick with that. Let's see. I'm looking up the borough of Riverton, and I don't
93% Caucasian. That does not include Italian or mixed.
I guess it's all white there. Okay. So Breaker Morant versus Eric Martin. Eric Martin didn't get a Wait, did he get a rematch? He never got the rematch, did he?
He never got the rematch. No, he was going after
he turned his
Chris
attention.
Wheeler for the WWGP Championship because he cost them that dog championship.
And so, obviously, the winner of this match will then go on to the dog event on October the 18th.
Yes, in beautiful, historic Pennsville, New Jersey, at the Pennsville Middle School. Also on the card for the September 28th event in Riverton, New Jersey, you'll see WWGP champion Goldie. By the way, Goldie's exploded right now. He's at a real crossroads right now in his career, and people are giving a lot of props for how he was sitting there carrying it. Maybe Cody needs to finish his story and get a shot unification match between the WWGP and the WWE Championship.
Speaking of which, pull some strings for us with Dr. Lawrence Zirconium and get Goldie on this show, please.
Okay, I'm sure he'll do so. So Goldie will be defending WWGP Championship. The Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Tag Team Champions, the War Devils, with their flag boy Connor.
Why do they have a flag boy? Why do they have a flag boy?
You're just jealous you don't have one. Can you imagine alliance-wrestling.com flag boy?
We have an Alliance Bear.
You need a flag. So yes, they will be in action, and so will former WWE Ring of Honor and OVW superstar Tank Tolan has also signed as part of the deal.
Tank Tolan, nice. And all of this takes place on September 28th in an adjective to be named later, Riverton, New Jersey.
Yes.
Nice.
I'm trying to find something distinctive about it because I'm the one that comes up with these adjectives, and so far. Mad Kokushi beat me to it. That's the only thing I can describe it as. Is pale.
Pale. Well, aren't they by the ocean?
Riverton? No, it's actually by a river.
Oh, I guess that would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it?
Yes, but it's actually a really nice place. And Sacred Heart Church has never seen pro wrestling action like Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators.
You can buy the seat, but you'll only need the edge.
The edge.
That sounds great, man. And again, the cool thing about our friends over at Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators is that these events, although that's for the audience that attends these events live, that those matches usually make their way up on YouTube relatively quickly. So if you're somebody like me who lives on the West Coast, will probably not make these two events. I will be able to still support Dog by watching those matches on their YouTube channel, which again is youtube.com at Dog Pro Wrestling. Check it out because again, there's great content on that channel. And I'm not just saying that because Dr. Lawrence Zirconium has been kind to us over the years and has gotten many of guests for us on this show. But I do say that because I'm someone who has literally gone and watched the product live, continues to watch the YouTube channel, subscribed, comment, liked, all that good stuff because it's a good wrestling promotion. And I feel like there isn't enough good wrestling out there. And for all of us who complain that we can't find the flavor of wrestling we're looking for, I feel like Dog is a great alternative to what you'll see on Wednesday nights and Fridays and Saturdays. And you could see some pretty good wrestling at these events.
And Daredevil Dave Dahl.
And Daredevil Dave Dahl. And again, it's not a big company. You're supporting the community when you're supporting that promotion. Their wrestlers are not, they're not making millions of dollars wrestling. They're making okay money, and that's not anything against Dog. That's all independent wrestling. There's not enough support for independent.
I don't think Dr. Zirconium likes to call him like you calling him cheap.
Yeah, soy un barato, es muy malo. No, I'm just joking. I love Dr. Lawrence Zirconium. As soon as he signs that check, I'll love him even more. But I will say this: like support all indie wrestling. But if you find a flavor you like, definitely support that and give dog a chance, because you might just find that that's the flavor you like.
All we are saying is give dog a chance. If you do wear an Alliance Wrestling t-shirt or hat to the event too, I'll make sure to give you guys a poster.
Nice.
So if you come to the next Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator event, or both, whether it's Saturday nights, September 28th at the descriptive term to be announced in Riverton, New Jersey, or Friday night, October 18th in the beautiful historic Pennsville, New Jersey at the Pennsville Middle School, you come with that with an alliance-wrestling.com t-shirt, hat, or both. We'll get you a poster, and I'll even let you get some talk to some of the wrestlers. I just won't make you talk to Dave Dahl. I wouldn't subject you guys. I actually like you.
We appreciate that. All right, guys, we're going to call it a night. Again, thank you so much for being here. Next week, if you are so inclined to join us next Tuesday, of course, we'll have the pre-party. We'll be matchup between EC3. I need those little horns, right?
Yeah.
We'll be talking about the matchup between EC3 and, of course, Sam Adonis from Lucha Libre AAA. And then
I love how much promotion they did to that match.
Almost none. It's kind of, it actually is very sad. And then also we'll be interviewing on Wednesday, the rescheduled interview with Honest John, the man that did challenge EC3 for that 10 pounds of gold and actually had a much better match than Sam Adonis did. Wait, James H. Jackson has a question. Will there be hot dogs at the food stand?
Yes, there will be. And probably pizza and chips and soda. Because honestly, you don't need much more than that.
Pizza sounds so good right now. That was one of my favorite things we did in New Jersey and Rustic Glassboro was eat that pizza. That was such a good pizza.
Oh yeah, there's so much good pizza. There's the Arena, if they still have, I don't know, it's been a while since I've been there, but if they still have the same pizza place, that is some of the absolute best flat New York style pizza that I've had. It's not the best, but it's very good.
Find me a good place that has a gluten-free option, because my youngest is, or not my
I
youngest,
know.
Claire
I really want you to take you to Assad's Hot Chicken, but I don't think they have anything gluten-free there.
I can't eat hot chicken, man. Oh man, I hate it because I love spicy food. Nashville killed me. Nashville's hot chicken killed me, and now I can't eat hot chicken anywhere. Every time I do, the stomach is just like, nope, not gonna happen.
Oh, that's Assad. Assad's is great. We'll probably get some cheesesteak, and then what we'll do is we'll just get a lettuce wrap or something.
Yeah. Oh, and
gluten-free wrapper. I don't know.
Claire loves bell peppers and onions. Like that's what she gets on her pizza. My guy, she loves bell peppers and onions.
How does she eat pizza if she's gluten problem?
A lot of places, especially locally, have cauliflower crust.
Oh.
It's I've had it with her. I've eaten it. It's not the same, but it's the closest thing she can get, and she loves it. And it's also good because she's eating her veggies, so it's a win-win.
There's a place somewhere around here that they throw their pizza on chicken.
That would be fine as well.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So go get something to eat, because I'm sure Jane just made you hungry, because I know I am. And we'll see you. Oh, by the way, new merch. Check the merch link in the bio. The Streamlabs merch site that we have. The new logo is pretty dope. It's just the old logo, but one color, just red, on a black shirt or blue shirt, or a couple of different options. Check it out.
And don't forget about maybe future 76 merchandise.
Oh, that's coming. The 76 merchandise is already designed. It's going to go to print very soon. And for those of you who are attending, I'm not asking you to buy 76 merch. If you want to wear your other Alliance Blog merch to the 76th anniversary show, that's great. But if you're part of this hashtag NWA fam, I got shirts for you. You'll get a shirt at the show.
We should wear one for every week of broadcast that this is done, so we have a different shirt on every week.
Brilliant.
See? Marketing here.
Real quick. All right. And then also James H. Jackson wants to remind everyone that Joe Kazana Promotions has its latest episode up today too. And again, to me, Joe Kazana Promotions might just be what the NWA should be like. I love Joe Kazana Promotions. I think
the NWA the way it's supposed to be.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, or don't. I mean, that's up to you. But all right, guys, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.